Okay, so we're diving into emotional intelligence today with
Ooh.
excerpts from this YouTube audiobook
Yeah.
called The Power of Not Reacting, How to Control Your Emotions.
Right.
And we're going to be exploring all those moments
Yeah.
you wish you'd just like kept your cool
Mm-hmm.
and unpack how you can actually gain more control over your emotions.
This audiobook was so intriguing to me
Oh, yeah.
because it doesn't frame emotional control as like suppressing your feelings, which I think a lot of people kind of think that that's the way to go. And I don't think that's actually a healthy way to approach it.
Yeah.
It's really about understanding your emotions, regulating them, and finding a way to use your emotions wisely.
Yeah, it's like you're becoming an emotional ninja.
Exactly.
Not someone who's totally like numb to everything,
Right.
but someone who can navigate the storm inside
Right.
and still come out making choices
Right.
they feel good about.
And the audiobook starts by really diving into, those
Yeah.
split-second reactions we all experience. Yeah. Anger, sadness, anxiety. It's like a switch just flips.
Totally.
And we have these instant reactions, and they call these emotional triggers.
I see.
And very often they're linked to past experiences.
You know what? That's so funny you say that because
Yeah.
I used to get really defensive when colleagues would give me suggestions
Yeah.
on my work.
Yeah.
And it took me a while, but I realized that was tied to
Oh, wow.
a teacher that I had in high school who was just like super hypercritical.
Interesting.
And so even though it was years later,
Yeah.
that dynamic was still like coloring how I was reacting.
It's amazing how these echoes from the past can influence us.
Yeah, totally.
So the first step is becoming aware of, your personal triggers.
Mhm.
Maybe you shut down. Maybe you get sarcastic. Maybe you try to people please, whatever your thing is. Identifying, that pattern is key.
Yeah, and the audiobook even gives some exercises to help people uncover those patterns.
Yeah.
And they also really stress that judging yourself
Yeah.
for those reactions is not helpful at all.
No, it's about recognizing them so you can make a conscious choice.
Exactly.
The audiobook also points out that your body actually often sends physical signals before you even fully react.
Oh, interesting.
Things like a faster heart rate,
Yeah.
shallow breaths,
Mm-hmm.
even that, classic knot in your stomach.
It's like your body's trying to warn you.
Right.
Hey.
It's like an early warning system.
Yeah, like be careful.
Which is pretty cool if you know how to read the signs.
Totally.
It highlights this fascinating connection between our physical and emotional states.
Yeah.
Almost like a secret language that your body is using to communicate with you.
I like that.
And if you can decipher that language, you can start to create space to choose a different path.
That brings us to what they talk about in the book, the mental pause button.
Right.
Now, obviously, it's not a literal button in your brain.
Yo.
So what do they really mean by that?
It's more about cultivating a moment of mindfulness, a split second where you become aware of that rising emotion and how your body is responding.
Okay.
And it's in that space that you can gain the power to choose.
Yeah, they even suggest a breathing technique
Yeah.
called the 4-7-8 method.
Mm-hmm.
You breathe in for a count of 4,
Right.
hold for 7, and then exhale for 8.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to help soothe your nervous system. Have you ever used techniques like this?
I have, and it's surprisingly effective.
Really?
Yeah. By regulating your breath,
Uh-huh.
you can actually influence your heart rate and start to calm down.
Like a built-in reset button.
Exactly.
That kind of reminds me of how they talk about mindfulness in the book.
Right.
And it's not just about meditation.
No,
Right.
they make it really practical.
Okay.
Encouraging you to be present in like everyday moments.
Yeah.
Really focusing on what you're doing, whether that's truly listening in a conversation or noticing the sensations as you're eating lunch. That shift in attention can really change how you respond to the world around you.
They even compare it to becoming a detective of your own thoughts and feelings.
Right.
Like really observing those patterns without judgment.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I always seem to get irritable when I haven't slept well.
Right.
Or I tend to overthink when I'm feeling anxious.
Totally. And the idea is that
Yeah.
the more we understand these patterns, the more we can step back from them and choose a different course of action.
What really struck me was their advice to literally name your emotions as you're experiencing them.
Yeah.
So instead of getting swept up in that feeling of overwhelm,
Right.
you would actually pause and say to yourself,
Okay.
okay, I'm feeling overwhelmed right now. Does that really help?
It sounds so simple,
Yeah.
but it's incredibly powerful.
Okay.
By actually naming the emotion, you create a little distance between yourself and the feeling. So it's no longer this big amorphous wave that's
Right.
crashing over you. It's something you can observe and manage.
I see. So it's like taking a step outside the emotion for a second to look at it?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, speaking of seeing things differently,
Yeah.
they also talk about reframing those negative thought patterns.
Right. And it's not about pretending like everything is perfect.
Right.
It's about consciously choosing a more positive,
Okay.
or at least a neutral lens.
Yeah.
For example, if you're stuck in traffic
Yeah.
and you find yourself getting frustrated,
Yes.
you might shift your thinking to, well, I can use this time to listen to that podcast I've been meaning to catch up on.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that you have a choice in how you interpret situations.
Even the annoying ones.
Even the annoying ones, exactly.
And they even argue that empathy and compassion can play a role
Oh, yeah.
in regulating your own emotions,
Absolutely.
which I thought was interesting because I always think about that as like
Right.
being kind to other people.
Sure.
But they're saying it can actually help you manage your own emotion.
It's about extending that same kindness inward.
Okay.
Treating yourself with the same understanding you would offer a friend.
Okay.
It's that inner sense of compassion that can create a more balanced and harmonious emotional state.
Now, this was a big aha moment for me when I was listening to the audiobook.
Oh, yeah.
They really emphasize taking ownership of your reactions.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not about blaming the situation or another person.
Right.
It's recognizing that you choose how you respond.
It's incredibly empowering.
It is.
You're not a puppet to your emotions.
Right.
You have agency.
And this concept of personal responsibility kind of ties into the idea of building emotional resilience.
Totally.
You know, so like bouncing back from those setbacks and challenges
Yeah.
without completely falling apart,
Right.
not becoming like cold or emotionless,
Right.
but just developing that strength to kind of navigate those rough patches.
Right. It's like developing a mental and emotional muscle.
I like that.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that, this idea of resilience?
I think it's, like you said, it's developing a muscle.
Yeah.
Life inevitably throws curveballs.
It does.
But with practice, you can build that inner strength to handle them.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that's really the heart of emotional intelligence.
Yeah. And speaking of navigating those emotional waves, the audiobook talks about the importance of forgiveness.
Oh, yeah.
And not necessarily for the other person, but for yourself.
That's a really insightful point.
Yeah.
It's about letting go of those grudges
Yeah.
and resentments that we can kind of carry around that weigh us down emotionally.
Uh-huh.
Forgiveness, in this sense, becomes an act of self-compassion,
Yeah.
freeing you to move forward.
It almost feels like releasing that emotional baggage
Exactly.
you've been carrying around.
Yeah. And they even talk about letting go of ego and pride.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Not denying your worth, but
Mm.
recognizing that you don't always have to be right.
Humility is such a powerful tool in navigating emotional landscapes.
Yeah.
It allows you to be open to learning, to acknowledging when you've made a mistake, and to grow from those experiences.
It's like approaching situations with a bit more openness and curiosity
Right.
rather than defensiveness.
Right.
And then, of course, there's gratitude,
Yeah.
something we hear about a lot these days.
All the time.
But they suggest making it a daily practice, and that really resonated with me.
It's fascinating how focusing on those positive aspects of your life,
Yeah.
even in small ways, can really shift your overall emotional state.
Yeah.
It's like training your mind to look for the good,
Mm-hmm.
which can have a ripple effect on how you react to challenges.
It's almost like building a mental muscle
Right.
for positivity.
Yeah, exactly.
And you won't believe this, they even have a section on communication skills,
Oh, interesting.
which at first I was like,
Okay.
how does that connect to emotional intelligence?
I know.
But it makes sense.
It's all connected.
Yeah.
Effective communication, active listening, being assertive without being aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
These are all crucial skills
Yeah.
for managing your own emotions and navigating relationships.
It's like creating a space of understanding and respect.
Exactly.
It's recognizing that communication's a two-way street,
Yeah.
not just about getting your point across.
Absolutely. And the audiobook offers strategies for de-escalating those heated conflicts.
Oh, yeah, those are the worst.
Yeah.
They can just spiral out of control.
Right. Have you found yourself using any of their techniques in those situations?
Oh, yeah, all the time.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, what's interesting is it often comes down to using your own emotional control to kind of diffuse the tension.
Right. It's about being a calming force,
Yes.
not mirroring the other person's heightened emotions.
Yeah, it's like being the eye of the storm
Exactly.
instead of getting swept up in the chaos.
Yeah.
And then there's the importance of setting healthy boundaries,
Yeah.
which is something I'm always working on.
Boundaries are essential for protecting your emotional well-being.
Yeah.
It's not about shutting people out.
Right.
It's about knowing your limits, what you're willing to tolerate and what you're not. Yeah.
And communicating that clearly.
It's almost like creating a safe space for yourself emotionally,
Right.
where you can thrive.
Exactly. And of course, they also cover managing stress and anxiety,
Oh, yeah.
which feels like a constant challenge these days.
It does.
It is for many people. And the audiobook really emphasizes that managing stress goes hand in hand with emotional control.
Yeah. It's like,
When you're feeling overwhelmed, you're just more likely to react in ways you later regret. It's like your emotional bandwidth is overloaded.
Did any of their suggestions for managing stress stand out to you?
Well, they revisit mindfulness, of
Yeah.
course,
Yeah.
but also talk about the importance of exercise and getting enough sleep.
Yeah, sleep is huge.
It is. It's almost like building a toolkit of strategies that work for you.
Yeah, what resonated with me was their emphasis on reframing those negative thoughts,
Oh, yeah.
which we talked about earlier.
Right. It's such a powerful technique.
Yeah.
And it's not about denying those difficult emotions.
But rather choosing how you want to interpret the situation.
Okay.
You always have a choice in that.
It's like taking back control of your narrative
Right.
instead of letting those negative thoughts spiral.
Exactly. And they talk about the importance of patience.
Oh, patience is something I definitely need to work on.
You too.
And they present it as a skill you can actually develop over time.
Yeah, it's encouraging, isn't it?
It is.
Patience goes hand in hand with tolerance.
Yeah.
That ability to accept that things unfold in their own time.
Yeah.
And that can be a big help in managing those impulsive reactions we talked about earlier.
Right. Like sometimes you don't have to react right away.
Right,
You
exactly.
can just kind of let it sit for a second.
It's about recognizing that you don't have to react to everything immediately.
Right. And they return to the theme of self-compassion, which I appreciate.
Oh, it's so powerful.
Yeah.
It's about treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding you would offer a friend.
Especially when you make mistakes.
Especially when you make mistakes, which we all do.
All the time.
Exactly. And the audiobook even delves into healing from past trauma.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Recognizing how those experiences can affect our reactions in the present.
Yeah.
It doesn't offer a quick fix, of course,
Right.
but it acknowledges the impact of trauma and suggests seeking professional help when needed.
Which is really important.
It is. It's an important reminder that healing is a journey,
Yeah.
and it often requires support.
And the audiobook also encourages us to embrace those imperfections and mistakes.
Yes.
Not as failures, but as opportunities for growth.
I love that.
That reminds me of the concept of a growth mindset,
Yes.
which they discuss as well.
Right.
It's that belief that you can always learn and improve no matter where you're starting from.
What are your thoughts on that idea?
I think it's essential
Yeah.
for emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
It's about focusing on the process, the journey of learning and evolving,
Mm-hmm.
rather than getting stuck in self-criticism or feeling defeated.
Right. It's about embracing the power of yet.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
The power of yet.
I may not be there yet, but I'm working towards it.
Yeah. And they wrap it all up by talking about how all of these tools and techniques
Right.
can lead to greater emotional balance in your life.
It's about not being constantly reactive,
Yeah.
but rather feeling more grounded and centered, even when challenges arise.
Yeah.
You become the captain of your own emotional ship.
I like that.
Yeah. Navigating the waves with skill and awareness.
It's a powerful image. It sounds like this audiobook really covers a lot of ground.
It does.
Almost every aspect of emotional intelligence.
It really does. It's like a comprehensive guide to
Yeah.
understanding, regulating, and ultimately harnessing the power of your emotions.
What stands out to you as the most valuable takeaway
Ooh, that's a good question.
from the audiobook?
For me, it's the emphasis on self-awareness as the foundation for everything else.
Right.
Without that understanding of your own emotional landscape,
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to make real progress.
What about you? What resonates most with you?
I agree. Self-awareness is key.
Yeah.
And they offer so many practical tools for cultivating it,
Mm-hmm.
from mindfulness exercises to journaling prompts
Yeah.
to simply paying attention to your body's signals.
Very.
There's something for everyone.
And I also appreciate how they emphasize that it's a journey.
Oh, yeah.
not a destination.
It's not about becoming some emotionless robot.
Right.
It's about developing the skills to navigate your emotions with more awareness and wisdom.
And what I found really reassuring was that message that you're not alone in this.
Absolutely. Everyone struggles with emotional control at some point.
Totally.
It's a universal human experience,
Yeah.
and they offer a lot of hope and encouragement throughout the audiobook.
It's that reminder that even if you've made a million mistakes in the past, you can always choose a different path going forward.
Exactly. It's never too late to start developing your emotional intelligence.
Yeah. One thing that really stuck with me was how the audiobook emphasized setting healthy boundaries.
Oh, yeah.
Not just in personal relationships, but like
Right.
in all areas of life.
It's about recognizing that you have a right to protect your emotional energy
Yeah,
and your well-being.
right.
And that means knowing what you're willing to tolerate and what you're not.
And being able to communicate those boundaries clearly and assertively
Right.
without being like aggressive or passive.
Exactly. It's about respecting yourself and others while advocating for your needs.
Yeah.
It's a delicate balance, but it's essential for healthy relationships and a sense of inner peace.
And of course, the audiobook also addressed managing stress and anxiety,
Oh, yeah, of course.
which feels so relevant to emotional control.
Absolutely. When you're feeling stressed and anxious, you're far more likely to react impulsively
Mhm.
and make choices you later regret.
Yeah, it's like your emotional bandwidth is overloaded.
Totally.
And that's where having those tools and techniques we've been talking about becomes so important.
It's true.
The mindfulness practice is reframing negative thoughts,
Yeah.
even just getting enough sleep.
Yeah. Sleep is huge.
It's about building a lifestyle and a mindset that supports your emotional well-being.
Exactly. Finding what works for you
Yeah.
and creating a routine that helps you stay grounded and centered.
It's almost like having a preventative plan
Right.
for those emotional storms.
I like that analogy.
And they kept coming back to the idea of self-compassion,
Oh, yeah.
which I found really powerful.
It's such a core concept in emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
Treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding you'd offer a friend,
Mm-hmm.
especially when you inevitably make mistakes.
We all mess up. Sometimes it's part of being human.
It is.
And that's where that growth mindset comes in.
Right.
That belief that you can always learn and improve from those experiences.
It's about shifting from self-criticism to curiosity,
Yeah.
seeing challenges as opportunities to learn and grow rather than getting stuck in shame or blame.
It's that shift in perspective that can make all the difference.
Totally.
And they ended the audiobook by talking about how all of these practices, all of this inner work,
Yeah.
can ultimately lead to greater emotional balance in your life.
It's about becoming less reactive to the ups and downs of life
Mhm.
and finding a sense of stability and peace within yourself.
Yeah.
It's like weathering those storms with more resilience and grace.
It's such a powerful image.
Yeah.
So much of what they shared in the audiobook
Yeah.
has really resonated with me. What's one thing
Mm.
you're going to take away from this deep dive
Okay.
and apply to your own life?
For me, it's the reminder to pause before reacting,
Yeah.
to take that split second to breathe, observe what's happening within me, and then choose how I want to respond.
It's such a simple concept,
Right.
but it can be so difficult to do
I know.
in the heat of the moment.
Totally.
It's definitely something I'm going to be working on. For me,
Yeah.
I think I'm going to focus on cultivating more self-compassion.
Oh, yeah.
I can be pretty hard on myself.
Yeah.
And I think that inner critic can really sabotage my efforts
Yeah, Ken.
to manage my emotions effectively.
It's so easy to fall into that trap of self-judgment.
Totally.
But the truth is, we all make mistakes.
Yeah.
It's part of the human experience.
Right.
And learning to be kinder to ourselves can make a huge difference in how we navigate those challenges.
Well, I think we covered a lot of ground today
We have.
and really unpacked the essence of this audiobook.
I think so.
And hopefully you've gained some valuable insights
Yeah.
into the power of not reacting.
It's been a fascinating exploration. Remember, emotional intelligence is a skill you can develop.
Yeah.
It's not something you're just born with.
It's a journey that's worth taking,
Yeah.
and the rewards are immense.
Greater peace of mind, stronger relationships, a more fulfilling life. It all starts with that commitment to self-awareness and growth. So keep exploring, keep practicing, and keep diving deep.
That's your deep dive.